Heartland Season 19, Episode 4 might just be the episode that changes everything. Just when we thought Amy and Nathan were finally finding their rhythm, new drama sneaks in to tear them apart again. The emotional storm that's about to hit Heartland feels bigger than anything we've seen since Ty's death. It's not just about love anymore. It's about loyalty, the past refusing to die, and the question of whether Amy can truly move forward or if she's still trapped in memories that refuse to let her go. Because this episode, from what we've seen so far, doesn't just test Amy and Nathan's relationship. It breaks open old wounds and exposes secrets that could flip everything upside down. The trailer for Episode 4 shows glimpses of calm before chaos, a soft, romantic energy between Amy and Nathan that almost feels too peaceful to last. And of course, in Heartland fashion, it doesn't. Caleb's return to the center of their story isn't just random coincidence. It feels like the universe pulling Amy back into a circle she's been trying so hard to escape. The way Caleb looks at Amy, the hesitation in his voice, the unspoken words, it all screams unresolved emotions. You can tell he's not just protective, he's conflicted. Deep down, he's still haunted by what could have been, and that jealousy, even if he denies it, will become the spark that lights the fire in this episode. Meanwhile, Nathan is trying so hard to prove that he belongs in Amy's world, not just as a partner, but as someone who understands the weight of her past. He's patient, kind, and respectful, but there's a sadness in his eyes that even Amy can't ignore. It's the look of a man who knows he's competing with a ghost. Ty's shadow still lingers, and every time Amy hesitates, Nathan feels it. There's a powerful moment hinted at in the teaser where Amy's expression changes when someone mentions Ty's name, and you can almost feel Nathan's heart drop. He doesn't say anything, but his silence speaks volumes. It's painful to watch because Nathan isn't doing anything wrong. He's just caught in the crossfire between Amy's grief and Caleb's unresolved obsession. And then comes the turning point. Caleb's interference. He steps in under the excuse of concern, maybe even pretending he's just being a good friend, but his actions reveal something much deeper. The tension between Caleb and Nathan is undeniable. You can see it building with every passing moment. Caleb keeps inserting himself into Amy's story like he's testing both of them, pushing Amy's buttons, undermining Nathan's presence, and pretending it's all harmless. But we know Caleb better than that. His pride doesn't let him stay quiet when he feels replaced. And Episode 4 seems to expose exactly that vulnerability. What makes it worse is that Amy, being the peacemaker she's always been, doesn't fully realize how deep this emotional conflict runs. She tries to keep everyone calm, tries to be the bridge, but in doing so, she might be the one who ends up breaking. There's this heartbreaking irony in how Amy's desire to move forward keeps pulling her back into the past. She wants to love Nathan freely, to give him her whole heart, but every time she takes a step toward happiness, something, or someone, reminds her that Ty's memory still lives inside her. And Episode 4 seems ready to make her confront that head-on. The most powerful part of this first look isn't just the romantic tension or the jealousy. It's the emotional weight of time. You can feel how much Amy has grown, yet how fragile she still is when it comes to matters of the heart. She's stronger now, yes, but strength doesn't erase pain. The storm brewing between Caleb, Nathan, and Amy isn't about who she chooses. It's about whether she's finally ready to let herself love again without guilt. That's what makes this upcoming episode feel so personal and so raw. If the trailer is any indication, Episode 4 is going to give us everything. Heartbreak, confrontation, vulnerability, and maybe even the beginning of a new chapter that fans have been waiting for. But make no mistake, the road to that moment won't be easy. Caleb's interference won't go unnoticed, and Nathan's patience has its limits. Heartland Season 19, Episode 4 feels like the emotional test that could either bring Amy and Nathan closer than ever or tear them apart completely. And something tells me, by the end of this episode, no one will see Amy the same way again. The second part of Episode 4 seems to dive straight into the aftermath of the emotional buildup that's been haunting Amy since the beginning of the season. You can feel that something is about to snap. The connection between Amy and Nathan, which started so softly and full of hope, is about to be tested by forces they didn't even see coming. The episode's early moments promise warmth and closeness, but that calm doesn't last long. As Caleb continues to hover around, pretending to help but clearly stirring things up, the atmosphere begins to shift. There's tension in every look, every word that slips out too quickly, every moment of silence that stretches just a little too long. It's like watching a storm form right above the Heartland Ranch, and no one realizes how bad it's going to get until it's already too late. Nathan's patience, the thing that once made him seem so perfect for Amy, begins to look more like quiet frustration now. He's trying so hard to understand her world, the people, the history, the ghosts she still carries with her, but it's heavy. You can almost feel him wondering if he'll ever truly be enough. The worst part is, Amy notices it too. There's a moment where she tries to reassure him, but it feels forced. Her smile doesn't reach her eyes, and Nathan senses that. It's not that Amy doesn't care. She does, deeply. But love that grows in the shadow of grief is never easy. It's like she's standing between two lives. One she lost, and one she's afraid to lose again. And Caleb, with his confusing mix of jealousy and loyalty, is standing right there, pulling her back toward the past. It's impossible not to see how Caleb's behavior mirrors his old habits. The same old insecurities start to show, the same stubborn pride that used to get him in trouble. He tries to play the role of protector, but his actions feel more like sabotage. He gives unsolicited advice, jokes that sting a little too much, and keeps comparing everything to the way things used to be when Ty was around. It's not malicious at first. Maybe it's just nostalgia, but as the episode goes on, his tone changes. You can feel resentment bubbling beneath the surface. Maybe it's not even about Amy directly. Maybe Caleb just can't stand seeing someone else step into a life he thought he understood better than anyone. Whatever it is, it's clear he's losing control of his emotions, and that's when things start to spiral. At the same time, Amy finds herself caught in a painful emotional loop. Every time she tries to move forward with Nathan, something reminds her of Ty, a memory, a phrase, a familiar place on the ranch. And every time she hesitates, Nathan withdraws a little more. It's heartbreaking to watch because both of them are trying. They're not fighting out of anger, but out of hurt. Amy's struggle is so deeply human. She's not choosing between two men. She's choosing between holding on and letting go. Nathan, though, doesn't fully understand that yet. He's still trying to compete with something he can't win against, the memory of a love that ended too soon. And the cruel part is, Amy doesn't want him to compete. She just wants to feel something new without guilt. But grief doesn't work like that, and episode 4 captures that painful truth perfectly. What makes this even more intense is how the environment seems to reflect the emotions of the characters. The cold winds, the gray skies, the sudden changes in weather, they all echo the tension between Amy and Nathan. It's as if Heartland itself feels the shift. The quiet ranch that once symbolized healing now becomes a mirror of confusion and longing. And when Caleb's decisions drag Nathan into a dangerous situation, that emotional storm turns literal. There's talk of bad weather, of a trip that doesn't go as planned, and of two men being forced to confront their issues far away from everyone else. That's where the real confrontation begins, not just between Caleb and Nathan, but between the past and the present, between who Amy used to be and who she's trying to become. The beauty of this setup is how it builds suspense without rushing. Every small exchange carries meaning. A single glance becomes a question. A pause becomes an argument left unspoken. It's the kind of slow burn drama that makes you hold your breath because you know something big is coming. You just don't know when. And when that moment finally hits, when words are said that can't be taken back, the emotional impact will hit harder than any physical fight ever could. Caleb's jealousy, Nathan's quiet pain, and Amy's buried grief all explode into one heart-wrenching confrontation that none of them can escape. By the time the episode reaches its midpoint, you can already tell that nothing will be the same afterward. The relationships that once felt stable start to crack. Trust begins to fade. Amy's heart feels heavier than ever, and Nathan's confidence starts to crumble.
By the time the episode reaches its midpoint, you can already tell that nothing will be the same afterward. The relationships that once felt stable start to crack. Trust begins to fade. Amy's heart feels heavier than ever, and Nathan's confidence starts to crumble. Even Caleb, for all his bravado, looks lost, like a man realizing too late that his actions have gone too far. And that's where episode 4 truly hooks you. Because you know, this isn't just another misunderstanding that will be solved with a quick apology. This feels permanent. This feels like the kind of emotional wound that changes everyone involved. And as fans, we can't help but brace ourselves, knowing that whatever happens next, will redefine everything we thought we knew about Amy, Nathan, and the legacy Ty left behind. If there's one thing Heartland has always done brilliantly, it's showing how people break before they heal. Episode 4 looks ready to remind us of that all over again. The preview hints that the tension between Caleb and Nathan doesn't just simmer quietly. It finally reaches its boiling point when the two are forced to spend time alone, cut off from everyone else. It's the kind of setup that Heartland uses not just for drama but for revelation. Far from the safety of the ranch and Amy's calming presence, Caleb and Nathan have no choice but to face the truth. Not just about Amy, but about themselves. And that's when everything they've been hiding starts to come out. Nathan, who has always been calm and composed, finally loses that steady grip. He's tired of being compared to a man he never met, tired of walking on eggshells around people who treat him like an outsider. You can almost imagine the frustration in his voice as he finally says what he's been holding back, that he's not trying to replace Ty, and he never will. Because no one could. He just wants a chance to love Amy in his own way. That simple truth, said out loud, feels like a release, but it also cuts deep. Caleb doesn't take it well. Maybe he never realized how much he's been gatekeeping Amy's emotions, holding on to Ty's memory as if it gives him power. And when Nathan challenges that, Caleb lashes out, not with violence, but with words that sting more than any punch could. He accuses Nathan of being temporary, of trying to fill a void that can never be filled. It's cruel, but it's also heartbreakingly honest. Because deep down, Caleb is still grieving too, even if he hides it behind his usual confidence. Back at the ranch, Amy senses something is wrong. There's a subtle change in her. That old intuition that's always been a part of her connection to the people she loves. She can't shake the uneasy feeling that the past she's been trying to move on from is once again threatening the new life she's building. She looks at the horizon, maybe remembering the times Ty would ride off into danger, and for a moment, all those buried emotions rise again. But this time it's different. This time, she's not the woman waiting to be saved. She's the one who has to choose, to either let fear control her or to finally fight for what she wants. And what she wants is peace. Real peace. Not the kind that comes from forgetting, but from forgiving herself. Meanwhile, the tension between Caleb and Nathan only grows worse when nature itself seems to turn against them. The weather closes in, the wind howls louder, and what started as a simple flight turns into chaos. The plane is caught in turbulence, the sky darkens, and suddenly both men are forced to rely on each other just to survive. It's poetic in a way. Two men who can't stand each other, now bound together by something bigger than their rivalry. The situation strips away all the layers of pride and jealousy until all that's left is truth. Caleb finally admits that he never stopped feeling protective of Amy, not because he still loves her romantically, but because she represents a part of his life that felt pure, something he's been missing ever since Ty died and everything changed. Nathan listens, quietly, his anger fading as he realizes Caleb's pain runs deeper than he thought. But Nathan has his truth too. He confesses that being with Amy sometimes feels like living in someone else's shadow, that no matter how much she smiles or laughs, there's always a part of her that's somewhere else. It's not bitterness, it's heartbreak. He's not angry at Amy, he's just tired of feeling invisible next to a memory. And as much as Caleb wants to argue, he can't. Because for the first time, he understands Nathan's side. The two men who once saw each other as enemies suddenly see themselves as two broken souls trying to protect the same person in different ways. The silence that follows isn't peaceful, but it's real. It's the kind of silence that comes after everything fake has been stripped away. Back home, Amy's worry turns into resolve. She finally admits to herself that she's been holding on to Ty's memory in a way that keeps her from truly living. She loves him, she always will, but that love doesn't have to stop her from opening her heart again. That realization doesn't come easy. It's painful, messy, and full of tears, but it's necessary. And maybe, just maybe, that's what this entire episode is about. Learning that moving on isn't betrayal, it's survival. Amy's strength has always come from her ability to heal others, but episode 4 shows her learning how to heal herself. And when she decides to take that step, you can feel a shift. It's quiet, but powerful. Like the moment before dawn when everything feels possible again. By the end of the third act, it's clear that nothing will ever be the same for these three. Caleb, Nathan, and Amy are all forced to face truths they've been avoiding. Caleb finally realizes that his interference might cost him one of the most important friendships of his life. Nathan learns that love isn't about proving yourself. It's about patience and trust. And Amy discovers that grief and love can exist together, that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. The episode teases that when Caleb and Nathan finally return, something between them has changed, not just in how they see Amy, but how they see themselves. And that's the magic of Heartland. It takes something as simple as a love triangle and turns it into a lesson about forgiveness, growth, and the power of letting go. But make no mistake, episode 4 isn't about closure yet. It's about the breaking point before healing truly begins. And with the looks exchanged, the words unspoken, and the emotions running deeper than ever, the next moments promise to be the most intense we've seen all season. As episode 4 reaches its final stretch, every quiet moment feels heavier, as if the air itself is waiting for something to break. The dust from the storm settles, but the emotional wreckage is still there. Nathan and Caleb return to Heartland, changed men. You can sense it right away. Their eyes tell stories of fear, confession, and survival. They may have shared the same sky during that terrifying flight, but what they really faced out there was themselves. When they land, both seem quieter, as though they've left a piece of their pride up in the clouds. Amy sees them walking toward her, safe but visibly shaken, and the sight alone makes her heart twist. She rushes to them, relief spilling out in waves, but underneath that relief sits something else. Guilt. Guilt that her heart has become the battlefield where two good men keep fighting to prove who belongs there. The next scene teases a shift in energy that longtime fans will instantly feel. Amy doesn't speak at first, she just listens. She listens to Caleb's apology that's not really an apology, the kind that says more in tone than in words. He admits he crossed lines, that he let his emotions guide his actions, and for the first time, he doesn't try to defend himself. He finally looks at Amy not as someone he lost, but as someone who deserves to be happy, even if that happiness isn't with him. It's a mature, painful realization, the kind that breaks the heart before it heals it. You can tell that Caleb will always care for Amy, but now it feels different, more like family, less like a missed chance. And that small change speaks volumes. Nathan stands a little apart, watching the exchange quietly. There's hesitation in his posture, like he's afraid of intruding on a moment that belongs to the past. But Amy turns toward him, and everything else falls away. She walks up to him, looks him in the eyes, and the silence between them finally cracks. She doesn't need grand speeches. Her honesty is simple but powerful. She tells him she's done running, that she's tired of feeling trapped between memory and reality. She tells him she loves him, not because he reminds her of Ty, but because he's the first person since Ty who made her feel like herself again. And that's when you know, this isn't just another romantic subplot. It's Amy's rebirth. It's her way of finally accepting that love can happen twice in a lifetime, and that both can be real in their own way. But even as that confession lands, the episode refuses to give us an easy, happily ever after. There's still a heaviness lingering in the air, the kind that tells you not everything has been said. Caleb turns to leave, but before he does, he gives Nathan a look that's somewhere between warning and respect. It's not approval exactly, but it's a start. Maybe it's his silent way of saying, "Don't hurt her." Nathan nods, understanding the weight behind those unsaid words. The two men who nearly tore each other apart now share an uneasy truce, both knowing Amy deserves peace more than either of them deserves to win.